Hello, and welcome to Friday TechSnack, a place when we discuss some interesting technical things, and we are trying to discuss them shortly, but still in some small details. So today we are going to talk about NPM. And to be more precise, we are going to talk about private NPM packages or your own custom NPM packages. So my goal for today is to shortly describe to you how you can create your own NPM package and what you need to consider. My name is Pavel. I'm an engineering manager in EPAM, Lithuania. And today I will present you some ideas based on my previous experience from projects where we developed some custom libraries. So first of all, it's very important to discuss some theory. So I think by default, we just need to talk about NPM. I know most of you most probably already know what NPM is. You're definitely working with it all the time. However, there are some important things that I probably need to mention for your understanding of the overall process. NPM is a package manager. So it's by default just a library or like a command that you are using to run some commands to somehow communicate with libraries. But also it's a registry, which means that it's sort of like giant folder or something, some storage that actually just stores your files, your packages, and it also contains some information about your packages. So if you will try to find some way how we can actually describe what NPM is for people who don't know programming, most probably it will be something like a giant library. So you do have a lot of nice books. Some of them are not very nice. And you do have like a register record book, something that actually kind of stores all the information where you can find some specific books. There also might be different like different versions of the same book. I mean, there might be some book that was published 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and so on. And sometimes when you are like working with public libraries, it will not cover all the cases because you might need to actually store something private, like some sort of private section in Hogwarts library. So you do need to somehow create some libraries and put them into a place which will not be displayed publicly. To do that, you can actually do this with private registry, which means that there is a possibility to have some sort of space which will actually still store your npm packages, but these packages will not be available on public npm. So you can configure it, you can connect to this private registry, and then you can just download your libraries from this private registry as well as some public ones. When you're working with packages, every time you know that you need to work with different versions. Versions are very important, and the only thing that helps you to actually work with these versions and helps you to actually provide some information about your package is a file which is called package.json. So this is a file that is, it's clear from the name, it's a JSON file. So it will contain information that will describe some information for NPM to be able to somehow resolve your packages and about you or the purpose of this library. So we will discuss a package.json structure a bit later. But for now, you just need to understand that this file is the most important part of each and every library. The second important thing is that, as we already mentioned, we're always working with different versions. So usually when you want to find some book, you must probably want to find some specific version of the book. You probably want to find the latest version of the book. And NPM is working with versions using a thing which is called somewhere. The idea is that you do have three different numbers. Each of them represent a specific version. The first number represents major version, which means that each time when you are updating a major version, it will contain most probably either breaking changes or just a lot of changes. So when you actually switch from one version to the second version, it means that most probably you will need to do some changes in your code to actually support it. It's not always the case, but still. The second number, the minor one, is probably the best friend for each library, because usually when you do some minor changes, it means that you are usually just providing a new minor version. And the patch, which is I think clear from the name, is mainly for some patches. So in case if you want to actually produce some changes which will just fix changes from previous version, usually you just publish a new patch version. There are other things which I will not mention today, like beta versions and other things, but if you want to have more details about this, you can actually read about server and about version of NPM packages separately. So right now we understand some basics that we need to understand. Let's actually try to write some simple library. So first of all, a very important thing which we usually discuss when we are starting any type of project is how to structure our application, how to structure, in this case, our package. So to do so, we need to specify some moments that we actually want to see in our package. So by default, you might find some structure looks like this, which will look like this. So the first thing, which is, as I mentioned already, is the most important one. It's a package.json file. This is like a meta information about your package. It contains every detail that NPM needs, that users needs. So this is the file that you will always see. The second part, which usually also presented, it's a README file. So it's a way how you can actually describe what is inside your package. And usually when you create some package, you probably would want to write something about this. So I might say that like in this case, it will be great to provide some sort of documentation of how to integrate your package and how to use it, because usually when you're downloading some package from the internet, you want to understand how it's working. The third part, which we usually forget about, but still very important one, it's a license. So we do need to have some information about our license. We need to know whether everyone can use this package or whether someone can actually change it somehow and so on. And then we have an actual code of our package. So in most cases, you will see something like this. It probably will be an index.js file, which will be the entry point of this. It will be a lib folder or like src folder or something like this. So it will be just the main code. And in most cases, it will be already bundled. I mean, it will not be the original source code, and it might also contain any other files. So it might be a set of assets or some files that you just want to share, or I don't know, separate as a specific part of the library that you want to use separately. But the interesting thing about NPM is that actually it allows you to do something like this. So by default, you are not forced of to do any structure. You can just create a like full mess. You can just write down all files next to each other. You can store assets next to source code. You can even store all the code in one file. Like, it doesn't matter. The only important thing is that you need to configure your file in a way that your application, when it will actually download your package, will understand where is the source code and how to actually use it. So when we are working with NPM, when we already prepared a code of our package, most probably we will need to know how to actually communicate with NPM to be able to send our code to NPM. So there are 4 different commands that you probably need to know. The first one, npm init, it's a completely optional thing, just a helper that helps you to actually create package.json file. Since it's a major one, you most probably need it. So if you don't want to just find something, change the code manually, you can just create one using initialization and then work with it. The second part is a way how you can actually log in into the NPM, because without login, you won't be able to publish your package. And also you won't be able to identify yourself, because when you publish something to NPM, not everyone could actually go and like publish a new version of this package until they actually marked as contributors for a specific NPM package. The third one is very helpful in case if you want to actually automate the deployment, which is NPM version. So it's a way how you can automatically increase the version without actually manually going to package.json and updating some version. So it does support multiple additional commands to this one. So you can write down, for example, npm version major. It will automatically update the major version of your package and so on. And the last one, like the last command that you most probably will run, will be npm publish, which is like the final command that will just publish your changes based on the configuration. So let's imagine that we prepared our package, like we do have some package.json. We already know the name we want to publish it. We're just running npm publish, and we will see something like this. So it looks very similar to something that you might find in typical logs about packages. So it will contain some information about the version. It might contain information about package size, some integrity information, and so on. And here you will see, of course, that we are not allowed to publish our package because we are not identified, which means that for NPM, we are no one. They don't know us. So the first probably step before you actually writing something will be to create your account in NPM and log in into this account. So after you log in into your account, you need to go to a specific folder. So you need to know which changes or like which code you will actually publish. You need to make sure that you are in the right folder, because I several times did a mistake when I actually published the main source code, and it wasn't very good to actually see full source code of my library in npm, because usually like users don't want to compile your code, they just want to use it. So it's important to actually go to bundle, which is in most cases will be a dist folder. You're just running publish. When everything is okay, you will see a success message which will show you that the specific the specific version of the specific library was published. So in this example, I've created just an empty package, which is called TechSnack empty package. You can just open npm and you can try to find it. You will see there is a package that was created a couple of weeks ago, and you will even see that if you will try to open the code, it will contain only the package.json file. So it will not contain any source code. So one more time, I need to say it again. NPM just deploy your changes. By default, when you are running some command, it will not run any builds for you. Like publish does what it's supposed to do. It actually just publish your changes. So just make sure that you are doing it right. If we are talking about package.json structure as a structure of the main file that we need to have, we do have several fields, and I just want to go through each of them and just kind of add some short comments about them. So first one, name, is probably one of the most important one, because it's just a name of your package. And every time when you're specifying some name, for example, if you want to publish some package that wasn't presented in npm, you kind of by default create a name for this package. So you create a new package and you will be an owner. In case if you want to publish some changes in other libraries that was already created, an original author of this library or someone with ownership permissions need to actually go to npm and manually add you, like they need to provide you an access. That's of course done for security reasons. So make sure that when you're publishing, you are 100% sure that the name is correct. The second part, which is a version, we partially already discussed it. I think it's important to mention one thing regarding the version. It's that when you have a version like 1.0.0 and you want to publish the same version, by default, NPM will not allow you to do this. However, there are some possibilities to do so, especially in private registry. So there are some options when you can actually configure npm in a way that you will be able to overwrite some version with a custom one. And you need to make sure that you are actually updating the version to a specific one and you're not trying to override it. Just remember about this. The third part, which is description, Usually it's not very helpful, especially in case if you do have a README file, but still important to remember that at least some very short description is needed to make sure that you understand what this package does. The first point, which is main, it's kind of like a path to the entry point. So it's a name of the file that will be an entry point for your package. So in case if it's an index.js, it will be index. In case if you want to name it main, it will be main. It can even be inside some specific folder, so you can actually provide the path. And when you will install your package, NPM will understand like what is the path, so your application will be able to find the specific code from this. The next part, which is scripts, usually quite important for cases when you're developing something. Like it's non-mandatory for packages themselves. And I can even mention now that it's okay if your package will actually have like two different package.jsons. One will be for development itself, and one will be prepared specifically for this package. So it will be like already prepared kind of documentation, and you will be able to actually work with this. However, if you do have a separate packages, and you need to remember that there might be some problems, especially when you forget to add some dependency which is required and so on. So this thing is quite dangerous if you are working with multiple packages, but might be very helpful, especially when you're developing multiple packages from the same monorepository. The next part, author. Of course, it's me in this case, and it will be you or your organization or something. The next part about license. I don't want to talk much about licenses right now because licenses are specific topics, especially when you're developing some packages for some organizations who wants to actually sell your packages. So just things to remember that there are some free licenses, like by default it will be ICS, ISC, sorry, or it might be like MIT package, but it also might be some licenses that would require some subscriptions to actually use them and so on. Usually you will find something more public, especially in public NPM. So this is like a separate topic. And the last part about dependencies, it's an interesting one. I do want to actually talk about this in more details. So NPM by default provides you a lot of different ways how you can actually work with dependencies. You can configure some default dependencies. So it will be just like a list of dependencies, and it will be installed when you install your package, which means that these dependencies are needed for your application, or sorry, for your library to actually work. So for example, if your library is using, I don't know, some library, additional library from Microsoft to somehow set up a connection to OpenAI, and if it's already provided in the code, you need to remember that it should be inside dependencies, because NPM will automatically resolve these dependencies if they are in this branch. If you will put them in dev dependencies, they will be ignored, because dev dependencies are mainly done for development. So in dev dependencies, we are usually storing something that we actually want to use during our development. So it might be something related to ESLint. It might be something related to, I don't know, some Webpack things and so on, something that you usually don't need to install when you work with already prepared library. The next part, peer dependencies. It's the part that usually is used when you know that some application must use some dependencies, so you just don't want to install another version again. You can just tell that just use some dependencies that is already installed, and it might actually use the same version, or you can specify that version should be at least this one, so it still will help you to actually control these versions. And there are two more options which you most probably will not find in most of the packages, which is optional dependencies and bundle dependencies. As per name, so optional is just something that usually you don't need. So it's okay if they are presented, so they will be used. If not, then your library still should work. And bundle dependencies is a way how you can actually insert your dependency inside the just like your package. It's quite a bad practice to actually use bundle dependencies because it will kind of hard code this dependency inside your package. So it might be quite complicated to support multiple versions, and overall size of your package will be quite big. So I think at this stage, I've discussed everything that I wanted about the package. So just to summarize, what you need to have your package. You need to have a structure of your package. You need to create package.json, and you need to specify some configurations for this package. You need to have an account in NPM to be able to actually publish these packages. You need to set up your code, somehow set up a way how you will bundle it, because usually you want to work with bundles, not with this original source code. And then you just publish it. And that's it. So at this stage, I have nothing more to tell you. Of course, overall NPM packages might still provide you a lot of different things. Like there might be a lot of problems when you're trying to set up communication with a lot of different dependent packages. You might find that sometimes versions are not working as expected. You might find that sometimes the source code after the build is not working as expected, but that's the usual flow. So I would probably recommend you to just start with your initial package, just play with it and check how it will go. So thank you very much. I think right now I need to switch to our questions, and I do see that we do have some of them. So the first question, when should we use npm install versus npm CI? So as per name, like when you usually develop something locally, you most probably will use npm install, which will just by default install those packages. npm CI is a thing which is usually as per name, and as far as I know, it's just used for some CI pipelines, which just will install these. So I might not say that I'm like a professional in different versions when you're installing some dependencies, but make sure that you are using the same command in all the places. So in case if your CI actually uses CI, I would recommend to use it as well, because I did have some problems when npm install actually installed everything correctly while CI didn't work as I expected, so I had to actually switch to them. Probably CI will be the more preferred option for you, especially when you're working with multiple packages. The second question, what license is the generally recommended one? So I think I mentioned that I don't want to discuss in details. However, probably need to mention that by default, when you generate some file, it will be ISC. And I also saw some comments that probably some open licenses like MIT also will be recommended. But in most cases, like if you don't have any specific requirements, it will be the default one. If you do have some requirements from your customer, just speak to them. Make sure that they provide you all the information about expected licenses, because it's more about some law and how we want to share, or like how we want to publish this library, other than how we want to actually develop it and use it. Okay, so the next question. There is a quote, how to keep a library code secured. What exactly? Okay, so how to keep a library code secure. Sorry. This is an interesting one, because by default, when you are working with public packages, you are sharing all the code. And the code of your package will also be in the bundle, which will be a part of your main application. What I mean is that if you will build your package, and if you will add a code of your package inside your application, it will be mostly the same. It might be different if you will apply some additional logic, like if you will apply something that will additionally update names of your variables and so on. But it's important that for public NPM, when you publish some code, it's actually will be visible. So you can open any NPM package right now. You will see a tab which is called code, which is still marked as a beta, however it's working. So you will be able to actually see the full source code, and it will be the same code that you will see when you will just install your package, which means that if you are building something, you need to remember that this code might be actually taken by someone. They might change it. So in case if you are working with something that should not be shared, please consider private NPM registry. That's the best option. And I worked on several projects when we actually set our custom NPM registry. As far as I know, currently most cloud providers already provide them, so it should not be a problem. There are also some external services which also helps you with some private registries. So it's it's not so hard to actually hide your code. And when you're working with private registry, no one from the public NPM will be able to download it because they will need to actually have a link to a specific registry. With Azure, for example, it might also require a specific token for access. So even if you do have an URL, you won't be able to download this package without a specific token, which will be expired after some time. So it's quite a secure way to store this. Okay, the next question, does npm I only prod install pure dependencies? So as far as I remember, pure dependencies are built in a way that by default, they are trying to get your dependencies that are already installed, but it's quite hard to answer. Oh, sorry. I had something with my camera, but probably everything is working. Okay, so with pure dependencies, you need to make sure that versions are correct, because if you do have pure dependencies with one version and you do have installed versions in your applications with different versions, there might be some problems because it will try to install correct ones. It will try to resolve them and actually install some dependencies even from different sources, and it might not work correctly with some cases like, I don't know, material UI library, because you won't be able to actually work with multiple versions, especially when there are multiple major versions which are incompatible. So I don't think that it actually forced to install everything. So again, here I will just recommend you to actually experiment with some versions and make sure that you actually install in all the dependencies that you need for your package. And the last question that I will answer today, which parts of the project should be included in published NPM package and which parts should be excluded? I think similar to your application. The less code you publish, the better application will be, which means that ideally you need to publish only the code that will be used. There are some techniques when you can actually configure your package to actually provide a lot of source code, and you still will be able to import only some specific parts, which is more about modules, not about the package structure itself. I would just recommend not to publish just make sure that you are not publishing something that you don't want to share. Don't publish something related to development process. Of course, do not publish some tests because, well, usually you don't need tests. So ideally, it will be a small dist folder with one minified file, maybe with, well, ideally with some DTS files, just to make sure that your library will be compatible with TypeScript. And some important information that I mentioned, I mean, like README, license file, and so on. So, okay, we are finishing for today. Thank you again for joining. Thank you very much for all your comments. I hope that today I was able to just highlight that it's quite easy to actually develop your own private package. So in case if you will have any more questions, just write down them inside the comments, or you can just contact me directly. And also, don't forget that if you do have some interesting topic, feel free to ask Volga Bakharova. She's running these TechSnacks, and she's always looking for some new speakers. Thank you very much again, and have a good rest of the day. Bye.